Hello everyone, welcome back to the part 4 of the Somnath Temple modeling series. So in the previous videos, we have modeled those floors and the pillars of this temple, and now in this video, we are going to model it further. So without wasting much time, let's start the video. So here I am selecting this particular object and we need to duplicate it and remove the mirror modifier with the duplicate object and also the subdivision surface. So into the edit mode, what we can do is we can just delete this bottom vertices and we are going to model those tiny structures which you can see on the reference. So just we need to just do some of the changes required. So here I am scaling this bottom loop both along the x and y direction so that we can get this kind of structure, and now we can just scale it downward and we need to place it over the region that is specified into the reference. So just keep on duplicating this object, and here I am just rotating it a bit around so that it will create a kind of variation into that pattern. So now you can add a mirror modifier and mirror it along this particular object. So with each of the duplicate object, you can just rotate them. And now what we can do, we can just duplicate this object and remove the mirror modifier and the subdivision modifier. So we are going to model those structures over there, which you can see. So with the same kind of process, delete the bottom vertices and into the edit mode, select the bottom vertices, keep on extruding and just try to follow the pattern that is seen on the reference. So in order to follow this pattern, you can just intrude one vertices, scale down the vertices and then followed by the couple of extrusion of the vertices with the same kind of scale, and then finally the extrusion with the smaller scale. So here you can see we have modeled that particular portion. And now we can just simply place it over here, and we can also reduce the scale of this model along both x and y direction. Just rotate it a bit as you can see in the reference. And now just simply duplicate each of this that is given in the reference. So keep on duplicating. So now what we can do, we can just apply each of the mirror modifier with each of these objects selected, So we are going to duplicate these objects for the remaining two walls, which we need to model the same kind of structure. So that we need to apply the mirror modifier with each of these tiny objects. Don't even forget this base and this small structures to apply the mirror modifier. And then after applying the mirror modifier, you can select each of these tiny objects, check whether any of the objects are remaining or not, and just from the top view we can just duplicate this objects. So here you can see the objects have been duplicated, and as soon as I try to rotate it, it is not rotating properly. So what we can do, we can go to the edit mode with each of these objects selected and delete the mirrored vertices. So now press Ctrl G on your keyboard and join each of these objects. So now this object is a one object, and now we can easily rotate it along the z-axis with a negative 90-degree angle. So this rotation will also take some time to rotate, as it is a object with a dense vertices and a couple of subdivision surface. So here you can see the object has been rotated. Now after the rotation of the object, we can just simply place this object at this position, and you can see it is looking amazing. What we need to do is we need to just focus on that whether the object is interacting properly with the base of the temple. So here you can see we need to just slightly scale it along the x-axis so that it does not interfere that the objects along the other two walls. And also we need to scale those bases where the object stands. So if everything is okay, you can mirror this object along the x direction so that it will be applied on the fourth wall also. So this mirror will also take some time, as this object is a dense and will take some time to mirror it along the base of the temple. So once the mirror has been done, so now you can see the mirror has been done along the four walls of this temple. And now in order to have a fast viewport, we can hide each of these objects so that the viewport will be fast and will not lag while doing the modeling of the other things. So here I am hiding unnecessary things like those pillars and all those things. So just hide them, and now we are going to model the front part. So before modeling those things, try to hide as many as things which will not affect the modeling of the front part. So here I am also saving the project. So now with the base selected, what we can do, we can just we need to make the walls of this base first. So we are going to select this kind of faces right over here, and what we can do just is we can simply extrude them along the Z direction, and into the object mode you can see the shading of this face is not correct. So you can just auto smooth those faces, and now you can see they are having the proper smoothness, and you can also bevel the edges of those faces. So just select the whole uh, and now you can just bevel them. So now we need to focus on this modeling of this two kind of structures over here. So for that, what we can do, we can add a cube, place it over here, now with the cube selected, what we can do is we can just go to the edit mode and add a loop cut, and we need to just mirror it along the y-axis. And now we can simply scale it along the x-axis and also along the y-axis. So as soon as I move it along the into the object mode, it gets detached from the center. So don't move it into the object mode. So just always try to change the scale, I mean the location of the object only into the edit mode when the mirror modifier is applied. So now we can add a couple of loop cuts both along the x and y axis. So same number of loop cuts will be there. So now extrude this face along the y direction. And also extrude each of these end faces also. And now we can just bevel the topmost edge. So here you can see we have beveled this edge and it is looking quite smoother, and we need to do the same kind of process of extrusion along the z direction so that the object will be closed and we can get a walls and that uh, roof of those structure. And now with this inner faces we can just insert a face couple of time and just move it along the y direction so that those cavity areas will be created, which you can see over here. Now I am adding a couple of loop cuts along the center, and we can just try to focus on this patterns on the structures. So these patterns are very simple, and Now the main task is the modeling of uh, that structure which you can see on the top of this one. We need to model this area, and for that, uh, here you can see on the reference, it is made up of tiny structures and mounted on some of the kind of roof. So for that, what we can do, we need to unhide this each of these items, and we can just uh, see that these tiny structures are very similar to that uh, the present on the roof. So what we can do, we I have just duplicated this one, and before just modeling that central roof kind of structure, we can just model this array of these tiny structures on the edge of these loops. So I am just what we can see, just duplicating this small object and just follow the pattern. Now we can again duplicate this object, and now finally we are going to make that roof like structure. So just scale it quite a bit, and here you can see, scale it along the x-axis and also scale it downward along the z-axis. And now into the edit mode, delete the faces which are bending over this region. So I am deleting those vertices and just place it simply along this roof. So here you can see this is having that kind of bent like structure. So in order to make it a smooth one, so what we can do, we can just use the smooth tool, select each of these vertices and just increase the smoothness level a couple of times. You need to use this quite a lot time. So here you can see the faces have been smooth, and which is the our ultimate aim. And now just select this bottommost part and extrude it and just scale it and match it with the level of the roof. So here you can see that structure has been developed, and what we can do now is we need to focus on those tiny dots, and I mean those tiny like structure of the. So I am again duplicating this particular object, and this time we need to use this object as a particle system. So again, that same kind of structure, we can just smooth out this its faces. So here you can see the faces has been smoothed out, and we can just uh, change the bit of proportion of this object. We can just fill that bottom gap, and with the proportional editing tool turn on, you can just make it a bit broader along the edges so that it would look quite different from those structures at the back of the temple. So now with this roof selected, so it is very important to just rename our particle object. Now add a particle system and use a hair as a particle, and now scroll down over here and decrease the head length so that it appears good, and under the render setting change the render as object and select the object that we have made, and now increase the scale of the object, and here you can see the particle are appearing on this. So under the edit mode, select each of these vertices, and we can add a vertex group and also rename this vertex group so that the particle will only spawn along this desired vertex group and not throughout the mesh. So now under the particle setting, add a density as vertex group that we have created. So now here you can see the object, I mean the colors, is not appearing on the outer side of the mesh, rather it is appearing into the inner side. So how can we solve this problem? So this problem is related to the flipping of those faces. So how can we solve this problem? So the best way is under the edit mode, with the vertex is selected, press shift N and recalculate normal and turn on the insert. So here you can see now the particle are appearing on the mesh, but they are inverted into the direction. So how can we solve this problem? So with this color selected over here, what we can do is we can first of all apply the rotation, location and scale. Rather apply the rotation and scale only. So now if the things are not working with that, so what we can do is we can so here I have figured out that the particle object that we are spawning upon the roof of the temple is having the origin at the top and not at the bottom of this. So we need to just shift the origin at the bottom. So I have selected the bottom face and we can just shift the origin at the bottom. And now if I rotate it at its original position, that is the upward position, so now you can see it is appearing properly on the roof and that inverted problem has been solved. So here you can see, and now we can just play around the density and all those things. So just try to play around these things, and as far as these things are okay, you can then move forward. So I'm just checking whether the Chetan particle will be looking good or not. So in this case it is not looking as a good result. So just keep on experimenting with this hair system unless you find a better kind of result on your model. So So finally, into the edit mode, what we can do is we can just select both of these objects and press Ctrl P, and now just duplicate this object and place it after that one, and now you can see we have modeled that another structure also, and here you can see these things are looking amazing. We have almost completed the modeling of this temple. Just few finer details are remaining. And that this gap is also remaining to be filled. And how we can fill this gap is we can just duplicate this object right over here and just simply rotate it along the z direction, and here I am placing it right over here, and we need to scale it along the y axis. So now into the edit mode, we can just simply move this face so that it touches the pillar of the temple on both the sides, and there are no gaps. Uh, if there are gaps, then again scale it and just place it properly so that the gaps will be removed and the model will be appearing good. So now finally we can see that our temple has been completely modeled. Just few of these finer details are remaining, which I think I need to cover up into the next video. So till then, have a nice day, and we will meet into the next video.